Well, the weather here in Australia is crazy. I don't know what's going on, but I think I signed up for something a little bit warmer than this. Shall I get my money back? What do you think? Woo! Buongiorno, friends of Scot-Free Running. Sava, how are you all doing? Let me know down in the comments how your training's going. Are you training for a marathon like myself, a half, a 10k or a 5k? Let me know what your goals are down below. So this is episode 5 of the Port Fairy Ferry, the sub 250 project, where I will be testing the central governor up here, and I will be reminding myself to find love in my heart throughout the next 15 or 16 weeks or so of training, of grueling marathon efforts and lots of easy mileage. This week is my first build week. It will be 100k or so, and yeah, we're looking at a good 8 or 9 hours of running in this first week of marathon training. So the last couple of weeks have gone really well. I feel like I've recovered really nicely from the Melbourne Marathon that I did at the start of this month. I'm recording this video on the 1st of November 2023, and I ran the Melbourne Marathon on the 2nd of October. So yeah, not earlier this month, in fact, a whole month ago now. But yeah, the legs have recovered really nicely. I am feeling fitter than ever. My heart rate has just been dropping every day, and my legs really seem to have absorbed the recovery really nicely. I've been taking on lots of spa baths as well as lots of foam rolling, and yeah, just generally really enjoying the stretching at the moment. I've been getting the yoga mat out most days and getting those stretches in. But before we get started with today's Threshold Tuesday, I wanted to run you guys through a little bit of a ritual I have, at least a ritual I've developed, or in this process of developing more, to be honest. And that is how I'm getting ready for my threshold / tempo efforts, as well as kind of building up this understanding of what my body likes going into hard efforts / races. So the ritual has kind of been born out of mistakes that I've made in the last, year or so of running, since I've started to run consistently and train for races. And yeah, made a lot of mistakes along the way. I've had GI issues quite frequently, actually. I've had just a lack of consistency in my training, whether this be motivation, fitness, and just, I guess, general just desire to get out there and run. What other issues have I had? I've had blisters on my feet, I've lost toenails, I've, run into a few injuries here and there. So, definitely I've had a little bit of experience, and experience to learn from, I might add. So there's been lessons learned pretty much in every session that I have done recently, in that I've been able to react quite quickly to what's worked, why is my stomach upset today, why are my feet hurting, what is going on exactly. Oh, the flies here, crazy. And just moments until I was about to tell you guys about my morning ritual, the heavens opened and I got soaking wet. So it's about an hour later now. I've let the rain pass and I'm back out. I decided it probably wasn't worth risk getting sick or destroying the GoPro in the rain. So we're back out. Let's talk about the ritual. Let's start off with the first and probably most important part of my day, which is coffee. Now, for those of you that have watched the channel for a while, you would know that unfortunately coffee hasn't always been my best friend. In particular, in the Adelaide Marathon of this year, that about an hour before the start, I had a coffee and it just didn't sit right. I ran into some GI issues on the day, and I'm sure this is a all too common occurrence amongst us all, us runners, and to be honest, us humans, because coffee really does get the bowels moving. Anyway, enough about the bowels for this video. Let's focus on coffee and how I figured out how to use coffee to my advantage in training. Now, I am a coffee lover. I love a pour over coffee every morning. No matter what time I have to wake up and leave the house, I've had a pour over coffee before I leave. I just love it. But with running, of course, it can be difficult to get the timing right, the dosage, etc. So personally, I have found recently that I am definitely better off having a coffee than not having a coffee. There's actually an amazing video that I watched yesterday. Apologies, I can't remember the title of the video or the author, but I will make sure that's on screen now and linked below. It was an amazing video, about 20 minutes long, talking about the positive effects of caffeine on training, in particular hard efforts. Now, of course, caffeine isn't going to be for everyone. It is a psychoactive drug, so I wouldn't recommend it to all of you out there, and definitely proceed with caution because it can be dangerous. But I will say personally that I have found coffee to be really beneficial in my training, in particular in the longer, harder workouts. Now, for me personally, I find that 2 hours before the session is the perfect time for a coffee, and it's nothing crazy. I like to have about 18 grams of coffee. The dosage of caffeine in each cup is going to vary dramatically between cups, and it's really hard to keep on track of how much caffeine you're having, but I like to say that 1 cup of coffee 2 hours out, I feel nicely energized going into the session. Of course, this is going to vary for everyone, the time window, but I know personally that yeah, I can get away with having 2 cups of coffee in the morning, but no less than 2 hours before the session, because otherwise I'm going to be running into some issues, and come on, it's not worth it just for that cup of coffee. And it's absolutely pissing down again. Come on, give me a break. So, to be honest, the rain is actually quite a nice segue into my next part of my morning ritual, which I think actually might be probably quite an overlooked thing in running and in training. And that is to really run through the session that you're about to do beforehand. So while you're having your cup of coffee, I really think we can all benefit from just taking 5 minutes or so to just visualize the session that's about to happen. Now, let me explain. In my experience, I found that just by spending a few minutes picturing the session that you're about to do, just while you're having your morning coffee, just to think, all right, I'm gonna go out and take today, for example, with my 1K at marathon pace workout. I've got 3K at threshold, 1K at marathon pace with a nice 3-minute float between reps. I need to be thinking, okay, marathon pace. I'm gonna be starting the session off aiming for about a 4-minute kilometer, maybe just slightly holding the gas back a bit because I've got that 4K at threshold pace coming up only a few minutes after. I need to know that I'm going to have that energy in the legs to go and, you know, execute that pace as need be. Not only that, how have I been feeling the last few days? Am I feeling rested? Have I eaten well? Am I feeling hydrated? If those things haven't happened and I'm not feeling confident going into this session, then maybe there's an opportunity just to think, all right, if I get halfway through that threshold bit of the session, that 4K at threshold pace, and I'm not feeling so good, then I know I just need to dial it back a little bit. I don't need to be a hero in training, because actually that 1K at marathon pace at the end of the workout, I need to save a bit of energy for that. And if I do that, I'll get through the session strongly. In opposite terms, if before the session I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the session ahead of me and I'm thinking, you know what, I feel really good today. I've smashed it this week. I've eaten really well. I've got loads of sleep under my belt. And actually, I'm feeling so good, I might just make the warm up just a little bit longer, and I might do a couple more strides. And when I'm in the workout, I might think, you know what, I want to push each of these reps to the max, which is great. And that is what I'm planning to do today, because honestly, this week I'm feeling excellent. But I will say that before working with Tony, we use an app, and Tony lays out my sessions, my paces, and I know what I'm doing about 2 weeks ahead. It's fantastic. I can mentally prepare for these sessions. But before working with Tony, I literally wrote my own plans for myself, and quite frequently I was deciding on the day which session I wanted to do based on how I felt. And really, I'd go out and do a session that I probably wasn't capable of doing. And actually, if I had spent a bit more time thinking about, all right, what are my aims? Do I need to be working more anaerobically, aerobically, in my threshold zone? Or do I just need to get some easy miles under my belt? Then I probably would have had a bit more clarity on where my fitness was at. And actually, I would have been able to complete a lot more sessions, because to be honest, I hate to admit it, but I am a sucker for cutting a session short just because I've gone out way too hard, or I've set myself a session that is just way above my head, and actually I'm not there yet. So I think just taking the time to look at the session that you've got coming up, be honest with yourself, how am I feeling going into this session? And if you've been set this by a coach and you're not feeling up to it, there's definitely a conversation to be had there. I'm sure coach won't mind, but equally if you set it for yourself and you're just looking at it and thinking, yeah, that's not going to happen today, that is okay too. It's better to bring it back than to overcook it in training. I want that to be kind of the mantra of this training block, that it's actually better to undercook it in training than to overcook it and spoil the party before it's even begun. Because I'm not blowing that first party whistle, that first party popper, until race day on Feb 19 at the Port Fairy Marathon. Sub 250, let's go. And with that, let's dive into the final part of my warm-up ritual, that I actually just realized there's a few more parts to this ritual that I'd like to talk about on this channel. So I'll make sure to include those in coming videos, and maybe you should subscribe if you haven't already to hear those. Okay, shameful plug over. The part of my morning ritual that I shamefully have only just started to really pay attention to this, and to be honest, I am excited to see how much my running improves in the next few months based on this change that I've made, and that is properly warming up. Now it might sound stupid and you might be thinking, Scott, come on mate, this is a video about warming up. How are you admitting to camera that you only recently figured out the kind of warm-up you need to get your body moving quickly? And I hate to say it, that is exactly what's happened here. I pretty much have been neglecting my upper body in all of my warm-ups. So for the last, I don't know, year or so of running regularly, being consistent, spending time running, I've been neglecting my upper body. So let me explain. When I go out and I do my drills, pre-race, pre-interval session, I'm really focusing on getting that leg turnover, making sure everything's firing right, and making sure that I'm feeling really comfortable in the legs. But I realized till recently that I've really just been neglecting my upper body. So I realized this actually when Courtney and I went to the gym a few weeks ago, and I just popped in there with her. She did a workout and I just took some time just to do some stretches, some plyometrics, just box jumps and stuff like that. And before we left, I was feeling a little bit tight, lower back, so I got on the ground, did some spinal twists, and before we left, jumped up on the rings and did a couple of pull-ups. Nothing crazy, but I stretched out my shoulders and you know, did a few push-ups, and my upper body just felt really just quite loose and quite nice. Well, warm's probably a better word, but it was when I went out running just shortly after we'd been to the gym that I realized what a positive impact those stretches and just that bit of warming up I did in my upper body had on my running. Now, of course, when you go to the gym, you do a workout, you naturally, I mean I do anyway, feel a bit more grounded after. My shoulders feel a little broader and I stand up a bit straighter. And when I'm out running, this, I don't know, feeling I got after the gym that actually I was feeling strong stayed with me during my whole run. And I felt so good. My arms were pumping, and of course, well, I nearly fell over then, but let's imagine that I'm still looking strong and grounded. Those arm swings that in turn make our legs swing faster and harder were just effortless, and my arms were moving, my shoulders felt relaxed, my neck, I was just looking forward, and I felt strong. You know, I almost couldn't remember the days where I've had upper back pain, you know, just from the tightness or swinging my arms really to no avail at the end of my long runs when I'm tired and I'm just swinging side to side. I'd completely forgotten that actually that is the norm for me, and realized that day that I've probably been neglecting my upper body a little bit too much. So before my runs these days, even before my easy runs, and especially before my long runs, you know, those 2 hours and over runs where if you aren't stretched out in your upper region, you're going to start to hurt. And honestly, that pain at the top of my back, I find that I get that if I haven't had my arms above my head too much. Now, you know, it's pretty unnatural to have your arms above your head. So I've been making sure, just a silly thing that I've been doing every morning in the shower, is standing up and stretching my hands to the ceiling just for about 10 seconds or so. But all of that's doing, I think, is just reminding myself that I've got arms, and these arms were made to swing while I run. And they were made to swing strongly in front of me, and I need to be able to keep my arms up. You know, that is so important, I think, to have that range of motion. And maybe I'm just a bit more of a sucker to this issue than others. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, got my head really far forward or something, but I've really found that actually just warming up my upper body properly is just doing me a world of good in my running lately. So yeah, I'm sure that there'll be a few of you guys out there that maybe have the opposite problem. Maybe you warm up your upper body and your legs not enough, I don't know. But guys, please do let me know down in the comments if you found any of these tips useful, and have you found any, wow, this wind, oh my goodness. Have you found out anything recently that has helped your warm-ups, or at least your harder running sessions? Please do let me know down in the comments. Right, we've got a bit of a good patch in the weather now. It's a crazy headwind, but I think it's about time that we get this session in. So on the cards today, as I mentioned, get a warm-up in, and then it's 1k at marathon pace, and then it's 4k at threshold pace, followed by 1k at marathon pace, followed by a nice, easy, hopefully dry warm down. Let's hope the heavens don't open. But we're going to be doing a 3-minute sort of easy float between those reps. So I'll let you know how it goes. So literally seconds after I stopped recording, it rained more than I've ever seen in my life. So I ran back, got rather damp in the process, but at least I got my warm up in, although I'm not feeling really warm. So I'm going to stick the Alpha Flies on, and I think I'm going to do an extra half a K or so just to get a little bit of warmth in the body, because I am absolutely freezing. Oh my goodness. Oh my days, what a session. That was a beauty. Please ignore the fact that I'm wearing pajamas outside. I've come out on this little walk where the snakes are. Well, I haven't seen any yet. But yeah, there's usually no one around here, so I thought it'd be all right to come out in the jammies, since I have run 2 sessions since I last spoke to you guys. So just got back from the gym. I did a 6k easy on the treadmill. That was a nice easy effort. The rain was coming down like there was no tomorrow, so it seemed fitting to go to the gym. And honestly, even with my headphones in the gym, the rain was battering down on the ceiling, and yeah, it was just so loud in there. I was really pleased that I wasn't outside during that. It's just flooded here, it's crazy. But that session this morning was an absolute beauty. I just floated through it, honestly. The first marathon K rep was a 4:02 kilometer, and then I got my 4k in at threshold, averaged I think a 3:42 kilometer for that. So went off a little bit fast, but yeah, really, all in all, I was really happy with the sort of progressive effort that I was able to run there. At least perceived effort. I ran to progressive. I'm not sure about the splits, but yeah, felt amazing. And then yeah, that last 3-minute rest, I didn't feel like I needed the whole 3 minutes. Honestly, I felt like a minute into that rest period, or easy float I should say, I felt ready to go again. So yeah, that last marathon rep was marathon goal pace rep I should say, was a 3:58. So yeah, all in all, feeling really fit from today's session, really happy with how it went. And I can only think that my, you know, morning ritual is paying dividends, and actually maybe I'm onto something, who knows. I could all go to shit next week, but let's hope not. But for the rest of today, I am going to relax. Tomorrow, I believe I've got a 16k easy on the cards before Thursday's hill session. So I will make sure to bring you guys along for the hills and to report in on how the legs are feeling after the miles are in the bank. As I mentioned, this is my first 100k week of the block, so I think the 16k easy runs are going to be a very common occurrence, but I'm excited for it, especially in this weather, because it definitely makes for an exciting time when you go out and you don't know what the weather's going to do. And there is the hill for today's hill session. It doesn't look super steep from that camera angle, but I promise you there's a nice bit of gradient there to get the legs firing, especially those quads, as I climb up that hill at about 80% effort. So I've got 8 times 500 meters on the cards today. Obviously 500 meters up, followed by 500 meters down at a nice sort of recovery, easy pace, picking up that cadence to avoid, you know, landing with straight legs coming down the hill. But yeah, I think hills definitely are going to play dividends this time around in this training block. I really don't have much experience of running on hills at all. I really am only familiar with running on flat tarmac, so running on these dirt roads, especially with a bit of gradient, it's alien territory for me. So no doubt that I'm going to gain a massive performance edge from doing these kind of workouts. And I've heard so many times that hills pay the bills, so I guess I'm going to take a bit of a loan here, and hopefully when it comes to Feb 19th I'll be able to pay my debts off in full, and more, hopefully get all those bills paid and smash that sub 250. But as this video has turned out to be a bit of a long one, I will be including this hill workout and my thoughts thereafter in episode 6 of the Port Fairy Ferry. I've also got quite an exciting array of gels to explore in my Sunday long run, which will also be included in my episode 6 of the Port Fairy Ferry. So make sure to watch out for that episode being uploaded in the next week or so. If you're interested in following this series along, please do make sure to ring the notification bell down below to be alerted when I upload new videos. But that is all for today's video, guys. You know what I'm about to say next. Best is love, test the gov. I'm gonna get my head down, smash out this hill workout, and I'll see you guys in episode 6 of the sub 250 Port Fairy Ferry. Let's go!